not me.
All right, here we go. Pesachim Daf Daled, top of the Amud. Rav bar Achad Reb Chia ubar Achse. Rav was the son of Reb Chia's brother and sister, because Reb Chia had a half brother, one from his. He had a half brother and he had a half sister, meaning he shared a father with one and a mother with the other. And those two got married because they are not related at all. So they got married and had a son, and that was Rav. Okay. Now, Kisalek Lahasam, when Rav Chia went there, Amarle Avu Kayam, he asked him, is Avu, who was Rav Chia's half brother, Rav's father, he asked him, is he still alive? Amarle, so Rav said to him, Ime Kayamas, you should have asked me if my mother is alive. So Amarle, Ime Kayamas, so yes, is your mother alive? Amarle, Evu Kayam, you should have asked me if my father is alive. Meaning, he was saying neither of them are alive, but he didn't want to say it, like we've been discussing all this time. He didn't want to be the bearer of bad news. So he just said, this was his roundabout way of saying. So Amarle, the Shamesh Reb Chia said to his Shamesh, Chaloitz li min ali, take off my shoes, but take my stuff after me to the bathhouse. So Shmamina Tlas, we learned three things from this statement of Reb Chia. Shmamina, first of all, we learn that someone who is in mourning has to remove his shoes. And we also hear from this that if somebody hears about a passing of an immediate relative for whom he would need to sit Shiva, but it's already past that time, then he only sits for 1 day. And thirdly, that a part of the day is considered the whole day. So essentially, whenever you have the last day of something, you can use part of the day to count as the whole day. So therefore, when he took off his shoes, he was fulfilling the partial day of the only day of his Avelis. By taking off his shoes, he was doing the 1 day of Avelis, but then after that, he could go to the bathhouse, which an Avel wouldn't be allowed to do. But since he fulfilled his Avelis already with Mixat Sem Kakule, part of the day being like the whole day, he was going to go to the bathhouse afterwards. So that's how we learn these three things from the story with Rav and Reb Chia. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Next, Ahuda Amar. There was one who said, Dainu Dini. He would always say, the judges should judge. Meaning, whenever he got into any kind of conversation, any kind of argument, financial, anything, he would always say, let's go to the judges. He would always say, let's go to Beis Din. Very, very quick to run to Beis Din. So Amri, they said, Shmami na mi Dan Ka'asi. We can see that this fellow is from the tribe of Dan. Dechsiv Dan Yadin Amai Ka'achad Shiftei Yisrael. That it says about Dan that he was of the judges, those who judged the Jewish people. So we see this person who is very connected to judgment and always running after judgment. He was from the tribe of Dan. Ahu Dahave Ka'azil Va'amar Akaif Yama Asisna Birasa. Says, on the shores of the sea, I will build my mansion. Meaning to say, this was his dream. He wanted to build a seaside manor. So Badku, they checked Ashkechu, the Mizvul Kasi, and they found that he was in fact from the tribe of Zevulun. The Siv, as it says about Zevulun, Zevulun will live and dwell on the shores of the sea. Okay. Bahashta the Kaimalun, the Kuli Alma or getting back to our Mishnah, that we've concluded that everybody agrees that the R of our Mishnah refers to the night. So the night of the 14th of Nisan is when we check for Chametz. So, Michli, let's see. Bein l'Rav Yehuda, bein l'Rav Meir. Both according to Rav Yehuda and according to Rav Meir, Chametz einay aser elami sheish shayis l'mayla. So we didn't introduce Rav Yehuda and Rav Meir yet. We're going to introduce them shortly. But they both agree that when it comes to 6 hours into the day, halfway through the day, midday, at that point and on is when Chametz is prohibited. Okay? Now, the Nivdek B'shis, so why don't we just check during that 6th hour? Why are we checking the night before? If it's only prohibited once the 6th hour comes, or after 6 hours, so then why don't we just check it then? Why are we searching for chametz before we have to get rid of chametz? Right? It's kind of a funny thing that we do. We search for chametz and then we keep eating it, even after we search for it. Right? It seems odd. So the Gemara says, "V'chi tema." It's reason makdim l'mitzvah. So maybe you'll say that it's those who are active and quick to do things should be doing that for mitzvahs. So if that's the case, we should try to do it at the first opportunity. So then nivdek mitzafra. So then why don't we just check in the morning? That it says that on the 8th day we should do a bris. And we learned in the Brayso that the whole day of the 8th day is appropriate to do a bris. But those who are quick try to do mitzvahs sooner. As we see by Avraham, that when it was time to go bring Yitzchak onto the altar, he got up early in the morning to do it. So we see that this was the best way to do it, is to do things as soon as possible in the morning. So why are we doing this the night before? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, first of all, we want to do it at a time that people are home. If we do it during the day, people aren't home. So we're going to tell people to come in from work to stop their whole day, so they should be able to come do this. It's not the best way to do it. Better to do it at night when everybody's home anyway. And secondly, checking with a lamp is the best way to check. Having a dark area and then using a small light to illuminate a particular spot, that's the best way to search for chametz. So this way, if we do it at night, it'll be checked the best possible. Amar Abaya says, Hilkach, therefore, Haitzuv Mirabanan, a Talmud Chacham, loy liftach beidne beurta de tleisar de nagi arbeisar. A Talmud Chacham should not start his learning that he would be doing at night on the night of the 14th. Dilma meshkach leishmaitze, because maybe he'll mashcha leishmaitze. I'm sorry, maybe he will be drawn after his learning, and he'll get very engrossed and involved in his learning. And he might miss his opportunity to do b'dikas chametz because he's going to be so involved in his learning that he's going to miss it. So, Ba'omine, Mayor of Nachman bar Yitzchak, they asked Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak the following question: Hamaskir bayis l'chaverei ba'arba aser. Somebody who rents out his house or a room even on the 14th. So somebody's renting one of your houses for Pesach. So they're already renting it on Erev Pesach. It's the 14th now. So Almi Livdaik, upon whom is it incumbent to do the searching for the chametz? Ala Maskir Livdaik? Is it on the one who's the owner, who's giving it out? Is he responsible to check for chametz? The chamir didehu, because any chametz that's there is going to be his, obviously, because the other guy just showed up. Or perhaps maybe it's on the renter. I'm sorry, to search the isura b'shu sekai, because for the time being this is his property, and as being your property, it's your responsibility to make sure there's no chametz there. So for right now, for Pesach and for Erev Pesach, it's yours. So maybe you should have to check it. So that's the question. Why would you assume that? Because the isur is by yira by matzah, is that you shouldn't have chametz in your property. And when you rent the property, it's yours for the time. It's a temporary ownership.
Chametz is not mine.
Chametz is not yours. Correct. Yeah, if you had another Jew's chametz in your possession, that would be a problem. Okay. A guy's chametz is a different story, but another Jew's would be a problem. Yeah. Okay. So Tashma, the Gemara comes to bring a proof. Hamaskir bayis lechavere, someone who rents a house to his fellow. Al haseicher la'asa islam mezuzah. It is incumbent upon the renter to put up the mezuzah. So it would seem that it's the responsibility of the person who's living there to take care of the living responsibilities. So by living in a place, you have to put up a mezuzah. If you're living in a house, you have to get rid of the chametz. So that would seem to be the case. So the Gemara says, no. Hasam ha'amar Mesharshia. Over there, Mesharshia said, mezuzah chayvas hadarhi. Mezuzah is unique in that it is the responsibility of the one who's living in a place to make sure he has the mezuzah. But over here, who says? Maybe over here, when it comes to the chametz, it's not the responsibility of the person who's living there. Maybe it's the responsibility of the owner. And since it's the owner's chametz, so maybe he should have to do it. So we haven't answered our question because mezuzah is unique in that it is the responsibility of the person who happens to be living there at the time. So Amalur of Nachman bar Yitzchak said to him, Tanina, we learned in the Mishnah, Hamaskir bayis l'chaveira, someone who rents a house to his fellow. Im ad shaloi masar loy maftechais chal arba asar. If he had not yet given him the keys, and it was already the 14th, meaning that he didn't give him the keys until it was already past the time to check for chametz, then al maskir livdaik. Then it is incumbent upon the owner to do b'dikas chametz. But if from when he had already given him the keys, then the 14th happened, meaning he had already rented it by the time the 14th came around, then then it is the responsibility of the renter to search for chametz. So that's the answer. The answer is basically it depends. When did you get it? If you, as the renter, already had the keys, you had access when the 14th came around, then it's your responsibility to check. If you didn't get the keys until after the 14th already began, then it is the owner's responsibility because he should have had it done while he still had the keys. Okay, the Gemara continues. They asked Nachum Yitzchak the following question: somebody who rents a house or room to someone else on the 14th, does it have a chazaka? Can we assume that it's already been checked, or can I not assume that it has already been checked? So, meaning to say, if it's the morning of the 14th, and now you're renting it to somebody, can it be assumed that it was already checked because the time for checking was the night before? And now that I'm renting it, can I assume that you already checked it because it was your responsibility as the owner to check it before you rented it to me, or not? Or do I say that I can't assume that because typically places have chametz in them? So can I assume that the owner did the bedika, or can I not? Even though we just concluded that it would be his responsibility to, but can I assume that he did that or not? That's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara says, what's the difference? Well, Shalei, just ask him. What's the big deal? Just ask him if he did the bedika's chametz, right? You're meeting with him to get the keys in the morning, so just ask him. The Gemara says, no, the less lahai lishli, he's not around. He left the keys in the mailbox, and he's already in Israel, and it's already Pesach there, right? So you can't even call him. No way to ask him. So, la truche lahai, the question is, should we bother the person who's renting? Does he have to go check or not? So, Amalahu Rav Nachum Yitzchak said to Nisua, we learned this already. Hakol ne'emanim al bir chametz. Everyone has believed about the getting rid of the chametz. Afilu nashim, even women. Afilu avadim, even slaves. Afilu ktanim, and even children. So now, my time in Mahemni, why would we believe these people? If any of these people came and said that it is the chametz has already been gotten rid of, or they say it hasn't been gotten rid of, whatever it is, why is it that we believe them? La mishum, isn't it because the chazkase baduk? Because we can't assume that really it is checked. So if they're going to come and tell us that it's checked, well, what are they telling us already? They're telling us something that we already have a chazaka that tells us the same thing. So they're just enforcing that which we already have a chazaka for, so then we can understand, even though these are people we don't typically believe for testimony. But when it comes to this, since there's already a chazaka telling us the same thing, perhaps maybe that would be the reason why we believe them. The kasavar, hakol chaverim him etzel b'dikas chametz, that everyone is considered to be like a Talmud Chacham, someone who is very scrupulous when it comes to b'dikas chametz. The Tanya, as we learned in the Brisa, chaver shemeis v'hiniach megura malei pears. Let's say a Talmud Chacham dies and he left a whole warehouse full of produce. Even if they were picked that day and gathered into the warehouse that day, nevertheless, we consider them and we assume that they are already taken care of as far as Truma and Meiser having been taken off. Meaning we can assume that the day that he brought them into the warehouse, he already took care of all the Truma and Meiser before he died.
This case is different.
Why?
You're commanded to search on the night of the 14th.
Yes.
And this is the day of the 14th.
Correct.
So there shouldn't be any leniency here. It's still customary to search on the night of the 14th.
Right. So the question is, can I assume that you did?
But it's not the 14th.
It is.
Not the night of the 14th.
It's not the night.
It's not the night of the 14th.
Right. So the question is, can I assume that he did the right thing and he did search on the night of the 14th like he was supposed to? Or can I not assume that? That's the question.
But he wasn't there to search on the night.
He had his cleaning service do it. He had his wife do it. Whoever. It doesn't matter. The question is, can I assume that he did the right thing or not? That's the question. And the answer, or maybe he left that night. He left at 4 a.m. before you got there. You got there at 9. He was already gone. And so it's obviously pre-cell phone days, right? Right. So the question is, can you assume that he did it or not? So what he's answering here is that this Tana holds that you can believe even women and children, people who don't normally believe in when it comes to these kinds of things, when it comes to any testimony, you can believe them for this. Why? Why could you believe them? Masi, because we can assume anyway, even without them, we can assume that the guy did the right thing and he did check for chametz before he left. And he may have left a week ago. And he checked before he left a week ago, but it's been locked up since, so it doesn't make a difference. So the point is, we can assume that he checked. Why? Why can we have that chazaka? So he's explaining because we assume everybody is a chaver. It's like a Talmud Chacham is very particular when it comes to b'dikas chametz, and just like we see when it comes to a Talmud Chacham and taking of truma and meiser, we assume we do it right away, so you don't have any questions and doubts and, did I or didn't I? So the same thing when it comes to b'dikas chametz, we assume everybody is in that category, and we can assume everybody checks for chametz when they're supposed to, and therefore you can assume that the person who's renting you the house already checked for chametz like you were supposed to, and then if a woman or a child or a slave tells you that they did it, you're allowed to believe them.
I think we've had this situation where a mouse drags in a piece of.
Oh, hey, slow. We'll get there. Wait a minute.
So how are you just assuming that?
Get there. Let's say we're talking about where it's locked. It's mouse proof. Close the door. It doesn't have any mice in the house. All right, but we'll get to that one day. Okay, so that is that. So now the Gemara asks on this. What do you mean, Mamai? How do you know? Dilma shiny hacham the ka'amri hani. Maybe over here is different because these people, meaning the woman, the child, or the slave, they told us. Maybe that's why. Atu Amira Dahani Midim Shasha is bad. The Gemara says, what do you mean? We can't trust these people. These are people we don't trust when it comes to testimony. So it can't be because of what they said, because these are people we don't trust halachically. I mean, we trust them, of course, we trust them, but not halachically as far as testimony goes. You can't trust them. So therefore, how could that possibly work? Elamai must be that it has a chazaka, that it's already been checked. Okay. All right, we'll stop here, and Hashem will continue tomorrow morning.
So can we do it a little bit earlier? Let's say